Hello, my name is Abigail Strickland. Over the past year and a half, you've likely received a multitude of messages from your institution regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of these have been frank and to the point. Some of these have shown a great concern for your well-being. Which have you preferred to receive? In our paper, Adapting the Idea Model to Include Concern for Well-being and Experiment Using COVID-19 Survey Data, we looked at exactly the effectiveness of those two types of messages on promoting pro-social behavior. What is the Idea Model? The Idea Model is a crisis communication model that focuses on four key aspects of communication. The first is internalization. Is this message relevant to the individual receiving it? Distribution. Is this message getting to them effectively? Explanation. What is going on and what is the university doing about it? Action. What is this individual supposed to do and how should they do it? We proposed adapting the model to the IDSC model and adding concern, showing expressions of unity and concern for physical and mental well-being. So why do we want to adapt? Well, the Idea model has already been used to communicate medical information. It's been used to communicate Ebola outbreaks, Hep B outbreaks, and hepatitis B vaccination. But COVID-19 is different. It's been incredibly long-lasting, as I'm sure everyone is aware, and has a strong need for pro-social behaviors to decrease the spread of the virus. We've seen in previous research regarding smoking habits that showing concern increases the likelihood of them conforming to the medical suggestion. We wanted to see if this would affect pro-social behavior during the pandemic. Who are our participants? 25 universities were chosen. We selected them from the IPEDS database, and it was a stratified random sample that represented large, small, rural, and urban schools. We sent the survey to 2,000 participants, which 770 responded. After filtering out usable data, we ended up with 133 faculty and 387 undergraduates. Our survey was designed using two different messages. The first being the control, which was written following the Idea model. The second was the experimental. It was identical to control following the Idea model, using the same expressions, the same wording, but adding expressions of concern such as statements of unity. After they received their message, we asked them 5 questions. How likely are you to eat and drink in a restaurant? How likely are you to eat and drink in a bar? How likely are you to attend an indoor social gathering? How likely are you to wear a mask? And how likely are you to practice social distancing? For data analysis, we did a t-test for the difference of means, and we started with the experimental versus control. We got some interesting feedback. So we decided to divide this into subgroups. For our results, our original hypothesis that concern would help was incorrect. We actually saw for going to indoor gatherings, wearing a mask, and social distancing, showing concern in a message, as seen by this graph, actually decreased the likelihood of pro-social behavior. So we wanted to look at subgroups to see if one subgroup was influencing this response. When looking at age for undergraduates, we saw significance in wearing a mask and social distancing, but not for indoors. For faculty, we saw significance for indoors, but not wearing a mask or social distancing, likely not our influencing factors. Then we decided to look at perception of school. For those who believe their school cares, we found no significance between the two messages. For those who believe their school did not care, we found significance between going to bars and going to indoor events. Not our two big factors that showed significance in our main study. For those who believe the school is neutral towards them, there was a significance in masks and social distancing, but overall, in such a small sample for those who are neutral, it's likely this isn't our influencing factor. We then decided to look at those who changed their behavior during the pandemic and those who did not. For those who changed their behavior during the pandemic, no significance was found between the messages. For those who did not change their behavior during the pandemic, overall, the majority of the samples, we found significance in our 3 main factors, likely our influencing factor. So our continuation of work would be looking at why. We currently have 3 main beliefs. One possibility is cognitive bias. They've made their decision on how they'll behave during the pandemic. They won't change it. Another is naive cynicism, the belief that individuals only show concern when they're trying to manipulate you, so resisting. Last is moral licensing, the belief that they've given enough of this institution, so they can get away with using counterproductive working behaviors. For future work, we've conducted the study again, sending out 3 separate messages. We'll be looking at the effectiveness of the IDEA model, the IDEA-C model, and flat affect that only states data on prosocial behavior. Thank you very much.